Welcome to Sleeping with Science, a place where curiosity meets calm. Here, we drift through stories that let you learn while your body slowly lets go of the day. You don't have to fall asleep right away. Just listen, breathe, and let your thoughts loosen. Sleep will come when it wishes, gently, like mist over still water. If you enjoy being part of these quiet explorations, you can always like this video or subscribe to stay close to future journeys. For now, simply rest where you are and let your mind wander toward balance, the hidden rule of the universe. Everywhere you look, something is reaching for equilibrium. Galaxies drift apart in precise proportion, oceans rise and bow to the moon's command, and inside your own chest, breath moves in measured exchange. Nothing in existence stands still, yet everything seeks its center. Balance is not an invention of nature, it is its very language. Without it, atoms would fly apart, stars would collapse, and thoughts would scatter into noise. With it, there is structure, beauty, and continuity. Imagine the early universe, a swelling sea of energy expanding into darkness. Even then, harmony governed every spark. Matter formed only because opposing forces agreed to coexist: attraction and repulsion, expansion and gravity, fire and void. From that delicate conversation came the scaffolding of everything we know. Balance is the quiet conversation between extremes, the invisible handshake that holds the cosmos together. Look closer, and you'll find the same pattern in the smallest places. In a droplet of water, surface tension and gravity negotiate the curve that holds it round. In a leaf, light and shadow weave the chemistry that sustains life. Within your bloodstream, cells move nutrients where they're needed. Never too much, never too little. This orchestration happens without command. Nature doesn't demand balance, it remembers it. Every living thing is a continuation of that memory. Philosophers have long called this principle the middle path, the idea that wisdom lives between excess and absence. In science, it appears as conservation laws, symmetry, and homeostasis. In art, it becomes proportion, rhythm, and contrast. Across all languages, balance whispers the same message. Too much order stifles growth. Too much chaos destroys it. The miracle lies in the steady sway between them. Like a pendulum, the universe moves back and forth, never resting but never straying too far from its center. Even emotions follow this rule. Excitement must breathe beside calm, joy beside quiet reflection. Without the ebb, the flow has no meaning. The human heart understands this better than logic ever could. When we chase happiness endlessly, we burn it out. When we avoid sadness completely, we numb the very capacity for empathy. The secret is not to hold one side, but to move gracefully between both, trusting that balance will find us again. At this moment, as you listen, your body is performing millions of acts of equilibrium, temperature adjustments, chemical exchanges, neural signals balancing stimulation and rest. You don't have to guide any of it. Balance is already here, operating silently beneath awareness. It is the pulse that unites atoms, planets, and people. It is the soft rule behind every rhythm, the rise of waves, the fall of rain, the cycle of breath that carries you through night and morning. So as you rest here, you can let that idea settle. Balance isn't something to achieve. It's something to notice. It is the gentle law beneath everything, the symmetry that has always held you. In that recognition lies calm, a calm wide enough for stars and small enough for a single heartbeat. In the beginning, there was no up or down, no light or shadow, only energy, perfectly balanced yet restless to become something more. Out of that uniformity came a trembling, a pulse that expanded into space itself. Matter and antimatter appeared together, mirror images of one another. Each time they met, they erased themselves in flashes of light, like tiny promises broken in perfect symmetry, yet not all annihilated. A small fraction remained, and that fragile imbalance gave birth to everything that followed: stars, planets, oceans, and us. Even in that first chaos, balance was already present. Expansion met resistance, gravity tempered speed, and cooling slowed the fury of creation just enough for structure to emerge. If the forces had differed by even the smallest fraction, the universe might have collapsed back into itself or torn apart before atoms could form. Instead, equilibrium prevailed, a delicate truce between motion and restraint. Physicists call it symmetry breaking, when the universe, once perfectly even, began to prefer one state over another. It's a poetic contradiction. Balance maintained through imbalance. From this imperfection, galaxies spun outward, stars ignited, and the great scaffolding of space unfolded. Every atom in your body still carries the memory of that moment, the echo of forces seeking harmony in the newborn void. Light appeared, stretching across the dark, a wave and a particle in one. Its path was shaped by invisible rules, energy conserved, momentum balanced, charge neutralized. Even time itself became part of this equation. The arrow of time, pointing forward, was balanced by entropy, the quiet pull toward disorder. The universe didn't rush, it settled into a rhythm, an equilibrium between expansion and gravity that continues today. Imagine the first stars forming from clouds of hydrogen, collapsing under their own weight, their centers igniting in blazing fusion. Outward pressure met inward force, each holding the other in check. Without that precise equilibrium, no star could burn steadily, no element could form, and no life could ever rise from their ashes. The same balance shapes every moment you live. Gravity keeps your feet on the ground while centrifugal motion holds the planets in orbit. Heat radiates from your body while the cool air returns calm in exchange. You are part of that original negotiation, a participant in the universe's first and oldest agreement to endure through balance. When scientists study cosmic background radiation, they are listening to the afterglow of that compromise, the hum of creation finding its middle ground. It's faint, nearly silent, but it's everywhere. Proof that balance is not an accident, but the very reason existence continues. We often think of beginnings as explosions, sudden and violent. Yet this beginning was a conversation, not a conquest, a whisper between opposites agreeing to coexist. From that whisper came galaxies, oceans, thought, and dreams. It reminds us that harmony does not need perfection, it needs relationship. So when you look at the night sky, every star you see is a story of balance achieved, a promise kept since the dawn of time. The same rule that shaped the universe still lives quietly inside you, holding atoms together, guiding breath, maintaining rhythm. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are its continuation, its equilibrium, embodied in motion and thought. Light and darkness are not enemies, they are partners in the same dance. Every dawn is born from the night that came before it, and every sunset carries a promise of return. From the first moments after the universe began, illumination and shadow have been sharing space, defining each other through contrast. Light travels endlessly outward, carrying warmth, energy, and information, while darkness receives it, cools it, and makes rest possible. Without the dark, light would lose its shape. Without light, darkness would have no meaning. The story of balance continues in every beam of sunlight and every quiet shadow it casts. On distant stars, nuclear fusion transforms matter into light. That light travels for unimaginable distances, crossing the cold of space until it touches a planet, a leaf, a drop of water, or your skin. Each photon is a messenger from the core of a star, bringing energy to wherever it lands. Yet for every burst of brilliance, there is shadow, the calm backdrop that allows us to see. The human eye itself depends on this contrast. The pupil widens in darkness, narrows in brightness, always seeking equilibrium. Vision is a balance between receiving and protecting, between seeing and resting. In physics, light behaves as both a wave and a particle, an impossible duality that somehow works. It can spread endlessly like ripples, yet strike a surface with the precision of a pebble. That paradox is not confusion but balance. It reveals a truth that applies far beyond science, that two opposing qualities can coexist without cancelling each other. Energy and rest, certainty and mystery, existence and void, all of them are part of the same continuum. Ancient cultures understood this duality intuitively. They told stories of sun gods and moon spirits, of the sacred rhythm between day and night. They built their rituals around twilight, the hour when the two worlds touch. In those soft boundaries, life felt closest to its source. Even today, that instinct lingers. We seek the sun to feel alive, then retreat to darkness to recover. Our days require both movement and quiet. Our minds need both thought and silence. Every living thing reflects this interplay. Plants reach for the light but rest in the dark. Animals move through cycles of waking and sleeping, hunting and hiding. The planet itself turns in a slow pirouette, offering each side to the sun in turn. Too much light would burn, too much shadow would freeze. It is the alternation, the rhythm, that sustains. You can feel this same pattern within yourself. Energy and exhaustion, joy and melancholy, clarity and uncertainty, each appears when the other fades. The more we resist one, the more fragile the balance becomes. To live in harmony is not to cling to one side of experience, but to allow the pendulum to swing freely. Darkness is not punishment, it is preparation. Light is not dominance, it is renewal. So as you listen now, you are moving through both. The sound of words reaches you through vibration, energy shaped into meaning, while silence rests quietly underneath, holding everything together. Between the two, the story breathes. That breathing space is balance itself. The universe has always worked this way. A constant conversation between brightness and shadow, motion and stillness, sound and silence. Every heartbeat you feel follows the same rule: contraction and release, pulse and pause. In that rhythm, you are not just an observer of balance, you are its expression. Gravity is the universe's quiet diplomat, the soft force that persuades chaos to dance in circles. It doesn't shout, it doesn't blaze, it simply pulls, patiently and endlessly. Through that pull, the universe found its structure. Clouds of gas gathered to form stars, stars gathered to form galaxies, and galaxies swirled into immense spirals whose arms stretch like open hands. The force that seems invisible shapes everything we see. It holds moons in orbit, anchors oceans to the earth, and keeps every breath you take connected to the ground beneath you. Each orbit you observe in the night sky is a story of balance. A planet wants to move in a straight line, racing forward forever, yet gravity keeps it curving inward. The result is neither collision nor escape, but motion in perfect proportion, a relationship of tension and trust. If one side were stronger, worlds would fall. If weaker, they would drift away into darkness. The music of the heavens depends on this constant conversation. Gravity's harmony isn't limited to planets and stars. On Earth, it gives shape to rivers, carving their paths toward the sea. Mountains rise because the crust presses upward against its pull, only to be worn down again until equilibrium returns. Even within you, gravity guides the flow of blood, the stretch of muscle, the rhythm of posture. Your spine adjusts to its steady tug. Your body leans into it instinctively, like a tree bending with the wind but never breaking. When scientists describe gravity, they speak of space-time bending, of mass curving the fabric of reality. Yet the poetry of it is simpler. Everything leans toward everything else. There is intimacy hidden in that motion, a cosmic embrace that never ends. The moon's devotion to the earth gives us tides, pulling the seas back and forth, stirring nutrients, shaping life. That slow, predictable pulse keeps the oceans breathing and the world alive. Even the smallest grains of dust drifting in space obey this invisible agreement. They gather, collide, and cling together, building the foundations of planets. Over billions of years, that patient attraction turns chaos into order, fragments into form. It's a reminder that great harmony often begins with the faintest pull, a tendency toward connection. Gravity also carries a metaphorical weight. It is the force that reminds us of grounding, the need for something steady beneath change. When our minds spin too fast, when ambition races beyond reach, it is grounding that restores balance. Just as planets cannot exist without orbit, we cannot thrive without something that anchors us: values, love, belonging, purpose. The soul, like matter, needs its center of gravity. And yet gravity is never still. Every motion it governs is dynamic, sustained by movement. That is its paradox and its beauty. Stability born of motion, harmony born of pull and push. Nothing floats forever, nothing falls endlessly. Everything finds its path between those extremes. If you look up tonight, you'll see that the stars do not drift aimlessly. They trace ancient paths, obeying a choreography older than time. That order, that quiet persistence, is gravity's gift, the universe's most graceful act of balance. When we descend from galaxies to the smallest scales, balance becomes even more intricate. Within each atom lies a world of motion, tension, and restraint. The nucleus, dense and humming with energy, holds protons and neutrons packed so tightly that their very existence seems impossible. Positive charges should repel each other, yet they stay bound through the mysterious strength of the nuclear force. Around them, electrons drift, light, elusive, and perfectly tuned to the pull of the core. They move not in orbits like planets, but in clouds of probability, existing everywhere and nowhere at once, each position determined by an equation that seems to breathe. The atom is a masterpiece of compromise. Attraction and repulsion meet in truce, and the result is stability. If the forces binding the nucleus were slightly weaker, matter would disintegrate. If they were stronger, nothing could ever change. The entire visible universe depends on this razor-thin equilibrium, the subtle agreement between what holds together and what longs to fly apart. Each element, from hydrogen to gold, is a variation on this theme. The number of protons defines its nature, but it's balance that allows it to exist at all. Add one particle too many, and decay begins. Remove one, and structure collapses. The world around you, the air, the skin on your hand, the stone beneath your feet, is built from countless examples of perfect restraint. Even empty space is not truly empty. It hums with virtual particles appearing and vanishing in balanced pairs, existence and non-existence weaving a fabric of quiet symmetry. When you hold a glass of water, you are touching the result of atoms negotiating peace. Oxygen pulls at hydrogen with delicate insistence, creating molecules that cling to each other with invisible threads. Those threads give water its surface tension, its ability to rise against gravity in the veins of a leaf or bead upon your skin. Within every drop is a small miracle, forces that could destroy each other instead, choosing harmony. The same principle shapes you. Every heartbeat, every nerve impulse, every thought is powered by electric potential, positive and negative charges shifting in rhythm. Neurons fire because sodium and potassium trade places across membranes, tiny gates opening and closing in precise succession. Without those controlled exchanges, consciousness would fall silent. Your mind itself is built on atomic balance, carried by particles that have been holding one another in check since the universe began. This symmetry extends beyond physics into philosophy. The atom's design mirrors how all stability works, not through dominance, but through coexistence. Opposites can dwell in harmony if each respects the tension that keeps the other alive. In that sense, matter becomes a teacher. It whispers that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the art of balance within it. Every object, every breath, every heartbeat echoes this atomic truth. From the smallest vibration inside a particle to the swirl of galaxies above, the pattern remains the same. The universe, vast and incomprehensible, builds everything from agreements this small, from forces that learned, long ago, how to hold and let go at the same time. Every living thing breathes, and in that simple act lies one of the universe's oldest lessons about balance. Inhale, expansion; gathering, creation; exhale, release, surrender, renewal. Between them is the pause, the still point where neither movement dominates, where life hovers in quiet equilibrium. That small moment, almost invisible, mirrors the same law that keeps planets in orbit and stars from collapse. To breathe is to participate in the rhythm of the cosmos. Air is not just a mixture of gases, it is the medium through which balance travels. Each breath you take draws oxygen into bloodstreams that carry it to cells, while carbon dioxide, the result of energy spent, flows outward to nourish plants and oceans. What you release, they receive. What they exhale, you inhale. The exchange binds every organism, turning the planet itself into a single breathing body. Trees, oceans, animals, and humans share one continuous respiration, the Earth's heartbeat measured in the rise and fall of air. Even the chemistry of breathing depends on harmony. Hemoglobin in your blood holds oxygen tightly but not too tightly. It releases it when cells are hungry, clings when supply is low. Too much oxygen burns tissue, too little starves it. The body knows the middle way, adjusting each second, guided by signals older than memory. The brainstem watches quietly, sending corrections, keeping you alive through equilibrium. It is an ancient intelligence, a silent mathematician ensuring that nothing goes too far. Breathing also reflects the emotional weather inside you. Anxiety shortens it, peace lengthens it. When we rush, our lungs forget to fill and balance slips away. But when we slow down, when the breath deepens, the nervous system follows. Heartbeat steadies, muscles loosen, thoughts soften. It is as if the body remembers something larger, that calm is not the absence of motion but motion in rhythm. In meditation and prayer across cultures, breath has always been sacred. It connects the physical and the spiritual, the seen and the unseen. In Sanskrit, prana means both breath and life. In Latin, spiritus carries the same dual meaning. The ancients understood that breath is the thread stitching matter to awareness. To control it gently is to remind the body of its original balance, the same balance written into the laws of nature. Right now, as you listen, your breath moves in quiet cycles. You don't have to guide it. It already knows how to find its own harmony. The air around you enters, warms, and leaves, carrying with it the traces of forests and oceans, of countless lives and places. You are breathing the memory of stars. The oxygen in your lungs was forged in their hearts billions of years ago. Inhale, and you draw in the cosmos. Exhale, and you give it back. And if, as you listen, you begin to feel your eyelids grow heavy or your thoughts drift, that too is balance at work. The mind letting go of effort, the body easing into rest. Sleep is not a separate world. It's part of the same rhythm, another form of exhale. When it comes naturally, the way the tide returns to shore. So, if sleep finds you now, let it. If it takes its time, that's all right too. The balance of rest and wakefulness moves like the breath, never forced, always found. Somewhere between awareness and dream, between inhale and exhale, the universe breathes through you. Inside your body, balance has its most remarkable expression. Every second, countless systems work together to keep you alive, not in stillness, but in continuous motion. This process has a name that sounds almost poetic: homeostasis. It is the body's quiet promise to maintain order in the midst of change. Think of it as an orchestra with billions of musicians, each one adjusting its tone to stay in tune with the rest. Your temperature holds near perfect steady, despite the shifting air around you. Blood pressure rises when you stand, falls when you rest. Acids and bases in your bloodstream negotiate harmony so fine that a tiny deviation could end the song of life altogether. The body achieves this equilibrium through feedback loops, conversations between organs and cells. When sugar levels drop, the pancreas releases glucagon to restore them. When they climb, insulin steps forward to bring them back down. When you overheat, pores open to release sweat. When cold, they close, conserving warmth. Every sensation, every reflex, is part of this ancient dialogue. You never command it, yet it serves you faithfully from birth to death. Even your brain participates in this ceaseless adjustment. Deep within lies the hypothalamus, a small region no bigger than a thumbprint, yet powerful enough to direct hormones, hunger, thirst, and sleep. It listens to your body like a conductor reading the tempo of an orchestra, responding instantly to keep harmony intact. When equilibrium is lost, when fever, dehydration, or stress disturb the melody, it sends signals to restore rhythm. Homeostasis is not perfection, it is resilience. The body knows it will be challenged, knows the world will change, and prepares to adapt. Every recovery, every return from illness, fatigue, or fear, is the body remembering how to find its center again. This quiet intelligence doesn't seek extremes. It trusts in the middle, in the calm corridor between too much and too little. The principle goes deeper still. At the cellular level, membranes regulate the flow of ions, balancing the inside and outside world with astonishing precision. Sodium and potassium, calcium and chloride, each moves according to laws that never rest. Cells absorb what nourishes, expel what harms, and in doing so, preserve the fragile equilibrium we call life. There's a profound humility in this process. Your body is not fighting the universe. It's conversing with it. Every adjustment reflects the same balance that governs the cosmos. Energy exchanging, forces equalizing, systems seeking peace through interaction. The same equations that describe orbits and tides echo here, in blood and breath. Philosophers once said that the microcosm mirrors the macrocosm, that man reflects the structure of the heavens. Homeostasis is proof of that truth. The stars maintain their fire through balance, and so do you. When you eat, move, rest, and dream, your body is continuously negotiating with gravity, heat, and chemistry, maintaining a truce older than language itself. To live, then, is not to dominate the world around you, but to participate in its harmony. You are not a separate instrument. You are a note in the great symphony of equilibrium, and every beat of your heart, rising, falling, rising again, is the rhythm of that music continuing through you. Beyond the boundaries of your skin, balance extends outward into every corner of the living world. The earth is alive with exchanges, invisible threads binding predator to prey, soil to seed, rain to river, and wind to wing. Each life depends on countless others, not in isolation but in relationship. The forest, the reef, the desert, the tundra, all are expressions of balance maintained through constant adaptation. An ecosystem thrives not because it is calm, but because it can recover. When a tree falls, light reaches the forest floor, awakening dormant seeds. When wolves return to a valley, the deer move differently, allowing grasslands to grow, rivers to change their paths, and birds to nest once more. Every disturbance sets in motion 1,000 adjustments, each one guiding the system back toward harmony. Nature does not fear imbalance, it uses it as a teacher. Even decay serves this purpose. When a leaf withers and falls, it feeds the soil that nourishes new growth. Fungi and bacteria, silent workers in the shadows, transform what ends into what begins. In that cycle lies the truest definition of balance. Creation and destruction woven together until they are indistinguishable. Nothing is wasted, everything becomes something else. Life's stability comes not from dominance but from diversity. The more varied a system is, the stronger its ability to bend without breaking. Coral reefs, rainforests, and grasslands all demonstrate this truth. Each species, no matter how small, contributes a note to the global symphony. Remove too many, and the melody falters. Protect them, and the music endures. Humans are part of this web, not above it. Our breath depends on trees, our food on pollinators, our climate on ocean currents. Yet our impact has grown immense. Forests cleared faster than they can recover, seas warming beyond their rhythm, skies thickened with what once lay beneath the ground. Each imbalance we create echoes outward, altering the equilibrium of entire worlds. But the earth is patient. Even now, it seeks correction, finding new paths where old ones have closed. The planet's instinct for balance never sleeps, it simply waits for cooperation. You can see its resilience in the smallest acts. Grass pushing through cracked pavement, fish returning to rivers once thought dead, seedlings sprouting in the ash of wildfires. The earth remembers how to heal. The question is whether we remember how to listen. True environmental harmony begins not with control but with respect, the willingness to become a participant again rather than a ruler. Every ecosystem, from the ocean's depths to the thin air of mountaintops, tells the same story. Harmony is never passive, it is dynamic, shifting, adjusting. It depends on movement, decay, renewal, and the humility to accept limits. Even the storms that seem to destroy are often nature's way of restoring proportion. You live within this web, breathing its air, eating its light. Every action, a step, a meal, a choice, vibrates through it, felt in ways too subtle to see. But that connection is not a burden. It is belonging. To recognize it is to find your place in the rhythm of life. Fragile, yes, but enduring. And when you stand beneath the open sky, hearing the wind move through the trees or the ocean's steady breath upon the shore, you are hearing balance made audible. The earth is speaking in the only language it knows, the sound of everything leaning gently toward everything else. To many, chaos feels like the opposite of balance, a word for confusion, destruction, and loss of control. But in truth, chaos is not disorder, it is the raw material from which harmony is made. The universe, from its earliest moments, was never silent or still. It swirled, collided, burned, and cooled in patterns too vast to comprehend. From those wild beginnings emerged galaxies, planets, and the subtle physics that holds them in place. Chaos, it seems, is the sculptor, and balance is its masterpiece. Every act of creation begins with turbulence. Inside stars, hydrogen atoms collide at unimaginable speeds, their violence giving birth to light. Deep within the earth, molten rock churns, pushing continents apart while forming mountains and valleys. In weather, unstable air masses meet, giving rise to storms that cleanse the sky and spread water across the land. What seems destructive from a distance is, on a grander scale, renewal, energy redistributing itself toward equilibrium. In mathematics, chaos theory reveals that even in apparent randomness, there are hidden patterns. The flutter of a butterfly's wings can alter a storm's path, not through magic but through sensitivity. Tiny variations in a system can produce vast, intricate results. Within that unpredictability lies a form of order, self-similar structures called fractals, which appear in snowflakes, coastlines, and clouds. Each part reflects the whole, repeating endlessly, never exactly the same, yet always familiar. The universe doesn't eliminate chaos, it organizes it. Life itself thrives at this boundary between order and disorder. A living organism is not perfectly stable, it is flexible, adaptable, constantly adjusting to new circumstances. Too much order, and it becomes rigid, unable to change. Too much chaos, and it dissolves. The sweet spot lies between, the edge of chaos, where creativity flourishes. Evolution depends on this principle. Mutations, accidents, and sudden shifts generate diversity. From the unpredictable emerges the beautifully stable, the spiral of a seashell, the symmetry of a snowflake, the beating rhythm of a heart. Even in the human mind, chaos plays a vital role. Creativity often begins in confusion, the messy intersection of ideas, the clash of perspectives that eventually gives birth to something coherent. When the mind wanders, when thoughts collide, something new can emerge. Art, music, and innovation are born not from total control, but from the willingness to explore the unknown and allow order to reveal itself slowly. The same applies to emotion and experience. A life without turbulence would be a flat line. No growth, no surprise, no wonder. Our struggles, mistakes, and moments of loss are not departures from balance. They are the movements that lead us back to it. A seed breaks apart to sprout. A heart breaks to understand love more deeply. Chaos is the process by which potential becomes real. In physics, even the concept of entropy, the measure of disorder, does not mean collapse. It means transformation. Systems evolve toward greater complexity, exchanging energy until a new kind of balance emerges. This dance between chaos and order is the pulse of existence. Nothing remains fixed. Everything flows toward harmony through cycles of disruption. The next time lightning cracks through the sky or waves crash wildly against the shore, you can see it differently. It's not destruction but dialogue. The world rearranging itself into temporary balance before the next storm, the next calm, the next breath. You, too, are shaped by this rhythm. Within your cells, molecular storms create order from apparent randomness. Within your thoughts, moments of uncertainty make space for insight. The universe doesn't fear chaos, and neither should you. To live in balance is not to avoid disorder, but to let it refine you. When you think of chaos now, imagine not confusion, but creativity. The moment before form takes shape, the sound before the melody begins. The architect of order never builds in silence. It begins in motion, in noise, in the wild pulse of life, finding its way back to equilibrium. Hidden in seashells, hurricanes, and spiral galaxies lies a pattern so ancient it seems to hum beneath creation itself, the golden ratio. It is not a number one memorizes, but a relationship one feels. Nature favors it not out of mathematics, but out of harmony. In every petal, every wave, every shell's turning curve, this quiet proportion repeats like a mantra the universe has never forgotten. The golden ratio, known to science as phi, describes a sequence in which each part relates to the whole in perfect balance, neither equal nor random, but gracefully asymmetrical. It appears when you divide a line so that the shorter segment relates to the longer, as the longer does to the entire line. The result, roughly 1.618, is a proportion that feels inevitable. The human eye relaxes when it sees it. The heart finds comfort in its shape. What seems like beauty is often recognition. We are built to respond to balance because we are born of it. Artists and architects through the ages have sensed this symmetry. The Parthenon's columns, Da Vinci's sketches, the proportions of cathedrals and faces, all trace this same hidden curve. Yet they did not invent it. They only discovered what nature already knew. A sunflower arranges its seeds in spirals that follow the Fibonacci sequence, allowing the most efficient use of space. Pine cones, shells, galaxies, each spins outward in elegant agreement with the same invisible law. Balance does not need a ruler, it has intuition. Mathematically, this ratio is infinite and self-replicating, a pattern that never ends, yet never loses proportion. It is geometry turned into poetry. In a single curve, it unites opposites, expansion and containment, change and constancy. Its presence in DNA's spiral and in a distant galaxy's arm suggests something profound, that the universe prefers continuity, that beauty is not an accident but a reflection of efficiency made visible. Even the human body echoes this pattern. The spacing of bones in the hand, the ratio of forearm to hand, the spiral of the inner ear, all fall near phi. It is as though nature repeats one quiet whisper across every scale. Harmony is both design and destiny. When we find something beautiful, it's often because it mirrors the proportions of life itself. Our eyes and minds, tuned by evolution, sense stability in these relationships. This proportion isn't rigid, it allows imperfection. No shell or flower embodies phi with exact precision. Instead, they approach it, adapt it, live within its spirit. That small variance is what keeps nature alive, a reminder that balance is flexible, not fixed. Perfection is not the goal, participation is. The golden ratio invites rather than dictates, guiding without confining. In a way, the golden ratio is the universe's handwriting, its signature on every surface. It connects art to biology, mathematics to emotion. When you see it, you recognize something older than thought, something woven into both physics and feeling. It is order emerging from freedom, precision born from motion. If you were to trace a spiral shell with your fingertip, you could follow that pattern outward forever, always expanding yet never breaking proportion. It feels endless because it is. The same curve shapes the swirl of galaxies far beyond human reach. Across scales, from the smallest seed to the vastest star cluster, the same quiet geometry links them all. In this golden symmetry, the universe speaks softly. It tells us that beauty and balance are not separate. They are the same expression seen through different eyes. Every curve, every proportion, every act of creation follows this rhythm, the whisper that harmony is both the source and the destination. Each night, when the world grows quiet, the body turns inward to restore what the day has unsettled. Sleep is not an escape from living, it is the continuation of balance by other means. In its gentle descent, the body and mind enter a state where repair becomes possible, where rhythm and rest reunite. The universe breathes through you even here. expanding in wakefulness, contracting in sleep, like the tide pulling back to gather strength. Inside the sleeping brain, extraordinary precision unfolds. Neural pathways that blazed bright during the day dim just enough for reflection. Memories rearrange, moving from fragile short-term clusters into the stable architecture of long-term knowledge. Useless details fade, meaningful connections strengthen. This quiet curation gives thought its clarity. What feels like surrender is actually order returning, the mind reshaping chaos into coherence. Meanwhile, the body follows its own nocturnal choreography. Cells repair microscopic damage, hormones recalibrate, muscles weave new fibers, and the immune system polishes its defenses. Blood pressure falls, heart rate slows, breathing deepens. It is as though the body remembers the lesson of gravity, finding its center after the pull of daily motion. Even the smallest acts, the slowing of the pulse, the stilling of the eyes, are expressions of balance reasserting itself. In deep sleep, brainwaves move in slow, rolling patterns that synchronize every system. It's a symphony without a conductor, perfectly timed. Each organ listens to the rhythm and adjusts its tempo. When that rhythm breaks, when sleep is cut short or scattered, the harmony falters. Concentration slips, emotion wobbles, immunity weakens, yet the body never stops trying to restore equilibrium. The next night, if given the chance, it begins again. Sleep is forgiveness made physical. Dreams arrive like soft messengers, carrying fragments of the day's noise transformed into meaning. They don't always make sense, yet they perform a purpose. They weave emotion into memory, joining what we felt to what we learned. Even nightmares serve this work, rehearsing fear so that waking life feels safer. Every dream, even the fleeting ones that dissolve at dawn, helps the psyche breathe. The inhale of imagination, the exhale of understanding. Across the animal kingdom, sleep takes 1,000 forms, but the principle remains constant. Dolphins let half their brain rest while the other keeps watch. Birds drift on air currents in microbursts of slumber. Even plants fold leaves and slow their metabolism at night. Life everywhere follows the same rhythm: activity and repose, effort and renewal. It's not weakness, it's rhythm. We live in an age that tempts us to forget this. Screens glow into the night, and the body's inner clock loses track of darkness and light. But the need for restoration does not vanish. It waits patiently beneath the surface, like water under ice, ready to flow the moment stillness returns. The world outside may race, but your body has its own tempo, one written in biology long before history began. So, as you listen now, if your eyes grow heavy or your thoughts drift into the soft edges of dreaming, let it happen. There is no rush to sleep, no demand to rest. It will come naturally, the way a wave returns to shore, the way balance always does. Sleep is not something you conquer, it's something you allow. Every breath you take now moves you closer to the rhythm of the universe. Expansion, release, restoration. The same law that guides the stars also guides this quiet moment. And as the body settles into that timeless harmony, the mind joins it, carried by the unseen current that connects everything to everything else. Within the space of your own thoughts, balance becomes both the challenge and the cure. The mind is not a still pond. It is a sea alive with currents, logic pulling one way, emotion another, memory rising like waves, imagination sinking into depth. Between them lies the narrow rope of awareness, stretched taut across constant motion. Each day, you walk it without noticing, adjusting every second to keep from falling into worry or distraction. To live with a mind is to practice balance continually, even in silence. Thoughts arise like sparks. One memory lights another, one concern births 10 more. The prefrontal cortex, that small region behind your forehead, works tirelessly to manage this traffic, deciding which spark deserves attention. Beneath it, deeper regions, the amygdala, hippocampus, and limbic system, pulse with feeling, color, and urgency. These systems do not always agree. One craves order, the other insists on experience. Yet together they create the mind's rhythm, a dialogue between reason and passion, control and surrender. Balance is not the absence of noise, it's the ability to hear music within it. The brain, though divided into hemispheres, acts as one. The left side passes structure and sequence, the right senses pattern and possibility. One without the other is incomplete. The most creative discoveries, from equations to poems, happen where they meet. That junction is the mind's center of gravity. When thought and feeling collaborate instead of compete, understanding blooms effortlessly. Every decision you make depends on this internal balance. Too much logic, and empathy vanishes. Too much emotion, and judgment blurs. Neuroscience shows that we think best when calm because equilibrium allows electrical signals to travel freely. Stress floods the brain with cortisol, tilting perception, narrowing focus, and muting curiosity. Calm restores the full field of vision. It's not weakness, it's clarity. The most powerful mind is not the one that controls every thought, but the one that allows them to move in harmony. Attention is the mind's gravity. Wherever you direct it, your inner world reorganizes. When attention is scattered, thoughts drift apart, spinning without orbit. When attention is steady, they align like stars drawn into constellation. Meditation works because it reintroduces that pull, not by silencing thoughts, but by letting them flow through awareness without collision. Each breath, each returning focus, tightens the rope and steadies the walker. Philosophers have long known this dance. The Stoics spoke of keeping the mind tranquil amid storms. Eastern traditions described equanimity as the highest form of wisdom. Both understood that peace is dynamic, not passive, a continuous act of adjustment. To stay centered is not to freeze, it is to move with grace, to shift lightly as the wind changes direction. The same applies to emotion. Feelings rise like tides. They are not meant to be resisted but navigated. Anger, joy, sorrow, fear, each one demands acknowledgement. Suppression distorts. Indulgence overwhelms. But observation transforms them. When you simply notice emotion, naming it, breathing with it, it begins to settle on its own. Awareness is the mind's balancing pole, the tool that steadies every sway. At times, balance feels impossible. The rope seems too thin, the world too loud. But even then, the act of noticing imbalance is itself a form of equilibrium. The moment you see chaos, you step slightly outside it. That distance is enough to begin the correction. The mind, like the body, was designed to recover. It knows how to return to center if given time. So, as you listen now, imagine your thoughts as footsteps across that rope. Each word is a movement forward, each pause a breath to regain stability. The rope stretches through the open air of awareness, firm but flexible. Beneath it, the winds of emotion move freely, never still, never dangerous, just alive. Above, the stars of understanding wait quietly, unshaken. The journey of thought is not to reach one side or the other, but to walk well between them, calm, awake, and balanced. Long before science gave names to the forces that move the stars, ancient thinkers understood balance through symbols. They called it yin and yang, darkness and light, stillness and motion, earth and sky. It wasn't superstition, it was observation. They saw that every mountain casts a shadow, every fire burns, only because of the space that surrounds it. Every inhale requires an exhale. Nothing exists alone. The world, they said, is a circle, not a line, opposites folding into one another, endlessly creating and dissolving. The same truth echoes through modern physics. Matter cannot exist without energy. Positive charge needs negative to define it. Gravity pulls while motion resists. Even the vacuum of space isn't empty but alive with equal opposites, particles appearing and vanishing in synchronized pairs. Science and philosophy, though centuries apart, tell the same story in different languages. The universe stays whole through contrast. In the philosophy of yin and yang, darkness isn't evil, and light isn't purity. Each contains a seed of the other, a drop of black within white, a drop of white within black. The moon's glow depends on the sun's fire. The sun's beauty appears only through the cool of night. The forces intertwine like breath, never competing, always complementing. This is not dualism but unity, the recognition that one cannot live without the other. You can see it everywhere. In weather, storms clear the air so calm may follow. In ecosystems, death nourishes life through decay. In the body, tension gives muscles strength, while relaxation restores them. Emotion, too, follows this rhythm. Sadness softens joy into gratitude. Fear sharpens courage into purpose. When we stop labeling experiences as good or bad and begin to see them as partners in motion, the pattern of yin and yang becomes visible in everything. At the scale of galaxies, the same interplay unfolds. Gravity gathers matter, expansion spreads it apart. The two forces hold each other in endless conversation. Without expansion, the universe would collapse inward. Without gravity, it would dissolve into emptiness. Together, they create the shape of existence, an unbroken circle of giving and receiving. Human life mirrors this cosmic dialogue. Work and rest, ambition and humility, solitude and connection, all must coexist. When one dominates, harmony fades. The modern world often glorifies the yang, movement, noise, productivity, heat. Yet without yin, quiet, cool, reflection, the balance collapses. Burnout is the body's way of reminding us that even the sun must set. In relationships, this principle deepens further. To listen is yin, to speak is yang. Both are needed for understanding. Compassion balances truth, patience balances urgency. Love itself depends on polarity, the meeting of differences that create something whole. Where harmony thrives, each side nourishes the other. Yin and yang are not static forces. They are verbs disguised as symbols. Each transforms continuously into its counterpart. Morning becomes night, seed becomes tree, child becomes elder, and the cycle turns again. The beauty of this philosophy lies in its acceptance of change. Balance is not something to hold on to, it's something to move with. If you think of your life as a circle rather than a ladder, you see this more clearly. Every setback contains its rising, every ending hides a beginning. When one phase fades, the next emerges from its shadow. Just as the moon waxes and wanes without losing itself, you too remain whole through all your transformations. Somewhere deep within you, the same forces are at play: rest and action, giving and receiving, light and dark. You do not need to fight them into submission. You only need to let them move. Like the waves that alternate endlessly without exhaustion, you are meant to oscillate. That motion is not imperfection, it is life itself, the balance of opposites made visible. If balance could be heard, it would sound like harmony. Long before telescopes revealed galaxies, philosophers imagined that the cosmos sang, that the planets, as they moved through the heavens, created a divine music. They called it the music of the spheres. No human ear could hear it, they said, but its rhythm shaped every vibration on Earth. And though they spoke in myth, they were closer to truth than they knew. Today, we know that everything vibrates. Atoms pulse, stars oscillate, gravitational waves ripple through space-time. Sound, at its core, is vibration carried through matter. And vibration is nothing more than energy seeking equilibrium. Each wave rises and falls in a rhythm dictated by balance, the upward push matched by the downward pull, the crest followed by the trough. In that motion, harmony is born. Consider a string stretched between 2 points. Pluck it, and the vibration divides itself into patterns of resonance, precise fractions of its length vibrating together to create notes. The same physics governs planets and light itself. Electrons orbit in quantized levels, planets travel in stable ellipses, light waves oscillate in frequencies so exact that color, heat, and energy can all be described by them. The universe is not silent. It hums with infinite notes, each in balance with the next. We hear only a narrow range of these vibrations, yet we feel them all. Music works on the body as gravity works on matter, subtly, inevitably. The heartbeat synchronizes with rhythm. Breath slows or quickens with melody. A song in a minor key invites introspection. A major key lifts the spirit. The effect is physical because it speaks the body's native language, oscillation. You are made of resonance, bones that vibrate, eardrums that translate air into meaning, cells that sway to internal currents. Even silence has its tone. Between notes, between heartbeats, there is rest, the pause that allows the next sound to emerge. Without silence, music would be noise. Without stillness, motion would lose its grace. This interplay between sound and quiet is another reflection of the same principle that governs stars and tides, opposition creating coherence. Harmony does not require sameness. In fact, it depends on difference. Two notes slightly apart create resonance that fills the air with warmth. Too close, and they blur. Too far, and they clash. The beauty lies in the interval, the space between them. Every relationship, every dialogue, follows this same pattern. We do not find balance by erasing contrast, but by allowing distinct voices to coexist in rhythm. Even the human brain responds to music through symmetry. The left hemisphere analyzes rhythm and sequence. The right interprets tone and emotion. Together they produce the experience of beauty. When music moves you, it's not just the sound. It's your mind briefly achieving equilibrium. Thought and feeling align, logic and emotion hum in unison. That fleeting serenity is balance perceived through hearing. On a larger scale, the same logic applies to the cosmos. The earth vibrates with seismic tones too deep for our ears. The sun rings with acoustic waves rolling through its fiery surface. Scientists have measured these oscillations and turned them into audible frequencies, and what emerges is astonishing. Stars do sing, not in melody, but in pure vibration, a cosmic choir spanning billions of years. When you listen to a piece of music that feels eternal, a symphony, a chant, the steady beat of a drum, you are hearing something older than culture. You are hearing the structure of existence translated into sound. The laws that hold galaxies together are the same laws that govern rhythm and harmony. The strings of the universe, stretched across dimensions, vibrate with balance so vast we perceive only its faint echo. So the next time you hear a note linger in the air, remember, it is more than vibration. It is a reflection of the cosmic order that shaped you, an audible thread connecting your heartbeat to the orbit of moons. The universe may seem silent, but if you listen carefully enough, beneath thought, beneath time, you might hear its softest song, the sound of everything moving together, perfectly in tune. The air that moves around the world is not aimless. It is the planet's slow, continuous breathing, an exhalation and inhalation that keeps the Earth alive. Weather, though it may seem unpredictable, is balance in motion. Every cloud, every gust of wind, every falling drop of rain is part of a global rhythm that redistributes energy, carrying warmth from one place to another, moisture from sea to soil, and calm after every storm. The process begins with sunlight. When the sun's rays strike the Earth, they do not warm it evenly. The equator receives more energy, the poles less, and the difference sets the atmosphere in motion. Air warmed near the equator rises, expands, and flows toward cooler regions, while colder, heavier air sinks and slides back toward the warmth. The planet becomes a vast system of circulation, each movement a correction to restore equilibrium. What we call wind is simply nature's way of equalizing temperature and pressure. Clouds, too, are part of this choreography. As warm air rises, it cools, releasing moisture that gathers into mist and droplets. When that moisture becomes heavy, it falls again as rain or snow, returning what was borrowed. The hydrological cycle, evaporation, condensation, precipitation, is one of the purest examples of balance repeating itself. Every droplet that leaves the ocean eventually returns, transformed but faithful to the rhythm. Storms, hurricanes, and monsoons may appear as violence, but even they serve restoration. A hurricane forms to release heat trapped in tropical waters. A thunderstorm redistributes electrical charge in the sky. Afterward, the air feels clearer, lighter, equilibrium regained. The planet's seeming fury is not rage but regulation, the exhale that prevents suffocation. Seasons unfold from this same rhythm. The tilt of the earth creates variation. Summer's abundance, winter's rest. This annual oscillation keeps life in sync. ensuring no part of the world remains in excess or deprivation for long. Seeds wait beneath frost, rivers swell with meltwater, and migrations follow invisible cues in temperature and light. The entire biosphere breathes to the planet's tempo. Even weather's chaos has order. Patterns like El Niño and La Niña, though disruptive, are cycles of compensation. They redistribute oceanic heat and influence rainfall across continents. Drought and flood are opposites in conversation, one eventually giving way to the other. The Earth's systems are so delicately connected that a storm over one ocean can change the harvest in another hemisphere. Yet through all of this movement, the average temperature, pressure, and chemistry of the atmosphere remain within narrow limits, an astonishing feat of stability. Humans have always felt this balance intimately. We speak of the calm before the storm, the cleansing power of rain, the comfort of a gentle breeze. Our moods follow weather's rhythm, restless in heat, thoughtful in mist, content in the warmth of a still afternoon. Poets call it reflection, meteorologists call it feedback. Both describe the same relationship. We are woven into the atmosphere's breath, but the planet's breath has grown shallow. Industrial smoke, deforestation, and rising heat disturb its rhythm, creating extremes where there once were cycles. Droughts last longer, storms grow stronger. Yet, even here, Earth seeks restoration. Forests regrow when left to rest. Oceans absorb carbon, though at great cost. New winds find roots across the warming seas. The planet's instinct for balance persists, but it calls for our cooperation. When you step outside and feel the air move against your skin, you are touching the same forces that shape continents. Each breeze is connected to the rotation of the Earth, to the tilt of its axis, to the pull of the moon. It's humbling to realize that something as gentle as a breath can be part of something so vast. Weather is not merely background, it is life's sustaining rhythm, the invisible current that keeps the world in motion and in balance. Life, at every scale, is an act of adjustment. Species change, disappear, or emerge, not by chaos or chance, but by a deep conversation with their surroundings, an endless search for balance. Evolution is often imagined as progress, a climb toward perfection, but nature's true motive is equilibrium. Each mutation, each adaptation, is a response to imbalance. The air grows colder, so fur thickens. Prey runs faster, so predators refine their chase. Oceans acidify, and coral learns, for a time, to endure. Through all of it, life listens, adapts, and remembers how to live within its limits. From the first single-celled organisms to the vast diversity of today's biosphere, every living form is a record of what once worked, a memory of balance achieved. DNA is a diary of corrections, each gene an old solution to a vanished problem. Some changes persist, others fade, but together they tell the same story. Survival belongs not to the strongest or the fastest, but to the most responsive. Adaptation is resilience made visible, the living signature of balance in motion. Consider the finches of the Galapagos. When drought struck, seeds became scarce, and those with stronger, thicker beaks survived to pass on their traits. When rain returned, smaller, more agile beaks flourished again. The species didn't choose one form or the other, it oscillated, just as the Earth does between seasons. Balance never stands still, it breathes through generations. The same principle guides every living thing, from bacteria adapting to antibiotics, to forests recovering after fire. What seems like struggle is nature's way of remembering its center. Even extinction, harsh as it sounds, plays a role in this recalibration. When one form of life vanishes, it opens space for another to thrive. Dinosaurs gave way to mammals, ancient trees to flowering plants, dominant predators to new species rising from their shadow. Life's rhythm includes silence and renewal. Death, too, is a balancing act, energy and matter changing shape, feeding what remains. At the cellular level, this dialogue continues without pause. Within you, cells mutate constantly. But most changes bring no harm, because mechanisms exist to repair, replace, and reset. Those that persist contribute to adaptation, sometimes even improvement. Evolution doesn't stop at the skin's edge. it continues within, through every heartbeat and breath. Your body, like the planet, adjusts endlessly to survive, altering blood flow, refining immunity, and shifting its chemistry in response to the environment it inhabits. Even human behavior evolves along this line. Our instincts for cooperation, empathy, and creativity arose not from strength alone, but from necessity, from the realization that balance is easier together than apart. Communities that shared survived, those that isolated vanished. Civilization itself is a collective form of adaptation, an attempt to harmonize hunger with compassion, ambition with wisdom. Yet evolution is not always gentle. The correction sometimes feels brutal. Species disappearing faster than they can adapt, ecosystems reaching thresholds from which they cannot return. But even in loss, the principle remains. Nature will seek new equilibrium, even if that balance excludes us. The laws that shape life are patient, unbending, and endlessly inventive. To understand evolution as balance is to see it not as a ladder, but as a circle, a continual dance between what survives and what fades, between excess and scarcity, between creation and surrender. Nothing in nature clings to permanence. Everything flows toward what fits best now. That is why life persists when conditions change. It bends instead of breaking, alters instead of resisting. And perhaps the deepest lesson evolution offers is humility. We are not masters of this process, but participants within it. Our intelligence, our technology, our will, all are extensions of the same instinct to find harmony with change. Evolution's hand still shapes us, just as it shapes every living thing. It reminds us that survival is not conquest, it is cooperation with time itself. Nothing in the universe ever truly disappears. Matter shifts, light fades, stars collapse, but the essence of what once was never vanishes. It only changes form. This is one of nature's most elegant laws, the conservation of energy. Every motion, every spark, every heartbeat is part of an endless circulation that connects all things. The warmth of the sun, the crackle of a flame, the pulse beneath your skin, they are all the same energy, only dressed in different forms. When you move your hand, the chemical energy in your cells becomes motion. When you breathe, oxygen fuels reactions that release heat. When you rest, that same energy radiates softly into the world, carried away in the quiet exchange between body and air. The process is so natural that you never notice it, yet it unites you with stars, oceans, and dust. The sun's light that strikes your skin today once burned in hydrogen's heart billions of years ago. You are, quite literally, shining with the energy of ancient fire. Even death cannot defy this rule. When a flame goes out, its warmth continues, diffused through air, absorbed by surfaces, carried onward as invisible vibration. When a leaf falls and decays, its energy nourishes the soil, the roots, the insects, and finally the air again. What was solid becomes scent. What was movement becomes memory. What was life becomes the fuel for life anew. The universe wastes nothing. This constant transformation is balance expressed as continuity. Energy never stands still. It travels through form after form, weaving existence together like a thread that never breaks. In physics, it's called conservation. In philosophy, it's often called harmony. Both describe the same truth. Nothing is lost. Even loss itself is part of exchange, a translation, not an ending. The stars are the original alchemists of this process. In their cores, hydrogen fuses into helium, releasing light and heat that travel unimaginable distances. That light warms a young planet, feeds green leaves, and sets into motion the chemistry of life. Millions of years later, those same atoms find themselves arranged into muscle, bone, and thought, into you. Every moment you live is powered by ancient sunlight. When you light a candle, the wax melts, vaporizes, and meets oxygen in the air. The result is carbon dioxide, water vapor, heat, and light. The candle's form changes, but nothing of it is gone. The atoms and energy simply rejoin the endless flow. The same happens with emotions and experiences. What you learn, what you love, what you lose, none of it vanishes. It becomes part of your perception, your compassion, your wisdom. Energy moves not only through matter but through awareness. Even at the smallest scales, this exchange continues. Quantum physics tells us that particles blink in and out of existence, yet the total energy of the system remains constant. The fluctuations are endless, but the balance holds. The universe hums with impermanence that sustains permanence. This principle also carries a quiet comfort. When you feel that something has ended, a moment, a season, a connection, remember that endings are transformations. The warmth that leaves one place reappears elsewhere. The laughter that fades from one room echoes in another heart. The same physics that governs the stars governs you, ensuring that nothing meaningful is ever truly erased. So much of life's anxiety comes from the fear of loss. But the cosmos knows no such fear. It recycles endlessly, turning collapse into creation. Even the universe itself, expanding and cooling, may one day find new expression. Energy scattered but never gone. It is all part of the same unbroken rhythm. If you were to listen closely, beyond sound and silence, you might sense it. The steady murmur of energy passing through every atom, every breath, every heartbeat. That hum is the sound of balance eternal, the universe reminding itself that nothing is wasted and nothing is lost. Even the most stable systems can falter. There are moments in nature and in life when balance fractures, when the scales tilt too far, when pressure builds beyond what harmony can hold. A glacier cracks, a forest burns, a heart races faster than reason can guide it. These moments frighten us because they seem to defy the universe's quiet rhythm, yet they, too, are part of the pattern. For balance to exist, imbalance must sometimes rise, reminding the world where its center lies. In ecosystems, disruption often precedes renewal. A wildfire devours trees, but the heat releases seeds that can germinate only in ash. The old forest makes way for new growth. Volcanic eruptions tear the crust of the planet apart, yet the cooled lava creates soil rich with minerals. Chaos clears the ground for life to begin again. Destruction, as harsh as it looks, is often correction in disguise. On the grand scale, entire galaxies collide and merge, their stars scattering into new orbits, forming new systems. The universe does not panic at these encounters. It trusts that after the turbulence, gravity will find a new balance. The same rule applies to rivers changing course, to deserts shifting dunes, to species vanishing while others appear. Evolution itself is a long conversation between imbalance and adaptation. The human world mirrors these same cycles. We lose relationships, jobs, certainty, and sometimes faith. Illness interrupts health. Grief interrupts peace. Conflict interrupts understanding. Each feels like collapse, like the breaking of something sacred. But when viewed from a distance, these fractures are part of a larger restoration. The body heals through inflammation. The mind grows through challenge. Societies evolve through pressure. Every crack holds the possibility of rearrangement. Still, imbalance can feel cruel when we stand inside it. The equilibrium that once felt certain disappears, and the unknown takes its place. In those times, it helps to remember that even chaos obeys laws. After every fall, gravity insists on return. After every high tide, the water retreats. In you, the same physics applies. The nervous system, flooded with stress, will eventually seek calm. The body, once overwhelmed, will begin its slow recalibration towards stillness. Balance may break, but it never vanishes. It waits, patient, for its time to return. There is beauty in impermanence. A sand dune shifts shape under wind, yet the desert remains. A melody bends out of tune, yet its rhythm endures. What breaks often exposes structure, the underlying pattern that held everything together all along. The Japanese art of kintsugi repairs cracked pottery with veins of gold, turning damage into illumination. Nature does the same. The fault lines of mountains, the scars of trees, the wrinkles on skin, all speak of equilibrium, rediscovered through endurance. Sometimes imbalance lasts longer than we wish. The Earth itself has endured ages of fever and ice, recovering only after millennia. Humanity, too, drifts through periods of excess, of greed, noise, and haste, before remembering how to slow down. The corrections come, whether invited or not. But they are never punishment. They are renewal disguised as ruin. To live with awareness of balance is to accept its breaking as part of the cycle. Peace does not mean the absence of disruption. It means trust, the knowledge that the rhythm continues even when it falters. Every storm exhausts itself, every flame cools, every wound closes, and when balance finally returns, it does not look identical to what was lost. It arrives transformed, wiser, more complex. The world, and we within it, evolve through these breaks. The fractures make space for light to enter, for strength to grow. So when you find yourself in a moment of imbalance, do not fear it. You are not outside the pattern. You are part of its renewal. The universe has broken and mended itself countless times. You, too, are made of that same resilience, the capacity to bend, to adapt, and to begin again. Why do we find symmetry beautiful? Why does the curve of a shell, the shape of a leaf, or the reflection of a mountain in still water fill us with calm? Beauty, in its essence, is balance perceived through the senses. The mind, designed to find patterns, feels harmony when it encounters proportion. Symmetry tells the nervous system that all is well, that chaos is contained, that order reigns, that the world, for a moment, makes perfect sense. From snowflakes to starfish, from petals to galaxies, nature's preference for proportion is unmistakable. A snowflake forms when water molecules lock into hexagonal order, each flake unique yet faithful to its geometry. Flowers bloom with radial precision, their petals spreading evenly to catch sunlight and attract pollinators. Human faces, too, tend towards symmetry. Even slight deviations influence how we perceive health, vitality, and trust. Our brains, built on mirrored hemispheres, are wired to recognize balance as beauty because symmetry signals life functioning as it should. But perfect symmetry, paradoxically, feels lifeless. It is the tiny imperfections, the tilt of a smile, the bend of a petal, that give form its character. Nature rarely repeats herself exactly. She allows asymmetry to breathe humanity into perfection. A tree leans toward light. A shell's spiral widens unevenly. A melody lingers just off beat. True beauty emerges from harmony touched by variation, from balance that moves rather than freezes. Artists have always understood this. The sculptors of Greece carved figures with deliberate asymmetry so they would appear alive, poised mid-motion rather than still. Renaissance painters infused depth and realism through contrast, guiding the eye toward tension and release. Architects use symmetry to anchor design, then break it slightly to create intrigue. The world's greatest works of art mirror nature's law. Balance is dynamic, not static. In mathematics, symmetry represents invariance, something unchanged under transformation. Rotate, flip, or mirror it, and it remains recognizable. The laws of physics display this elegance too. Electromagnetic fields, atomic structures, even the universe's expansion obey symmetrical principles. When symmetry breaks, new forms appear, a necessary disturbance that allows diversity. The cosmos itself began as near-perfect uniformity, but it was the tiny irregularities, the asymmetries, that seeded galaxies and life. Perfection gave way to variation, and in doing so, to beauty. Symmetry also lives within the body. The left and right lungs mirror one another but differ in shape to fit the heart's position. The brain's hemispheres balance logic and creativity, calculation and intuition. Muscles coordinate across sides to keep the spine straight, the gaze level. Even walking is an act of symmetry in its disruption. 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, constant correction. Movement itself is asymmetry striving toward balance. Psychologically, we crave the same pattern. In relationships, in art, in daily routine, we look for a rhythm of give and take. When symmetry breaks, through conflict, uncertainty, or loss, the mind feels unrest, and we instinctively seek restoration. That pursuit drives us toward kindness, forgiveness, and connection. Beauty, then, is not only visual, it is ethical, emotional. To live beautifully is to live in proportion between self and other, desire and gratitude, work and rest. Even sound reflects this rule. Music delights when notes and silences alternate in measured contrast. A perfect tone repeated endlessly becomes dull. Variation turns it alive. The listener feels at ease because the pattern both surprises and satisfies, maintaining equilibrium through motion. Symmetry surrounds us not as a rigid template, but as a gentle compass. It reminds us that harmony requires flexibility, that beauty grows where opposites converse. The curve of a river, the orbit of a moon, the architecture of a heartbeat, all are different ways of saying the same thing. Balance feels good because it is the shape of life itself. Look closely at anything you find beautiful, a flower, a face, a melody, and you'll notice that perfection isn't what moves you. It's the tension between order and variation, the dance between predictability and freedom. That is where beauty lives, not in flawless precision, but in balance that breathes. Sound is balance made audible. Every note that vibrates through air, every whisper, every heartbeat is born from the meeting of motion and rest. A sound wave rises, falls, compresses, and releases, a perfect dance between pressure and absence. Without still air, no vibration could travel. Without vibration, air would remain silent. Sound exists only because the two coexist, each shaping the other. The same law governs everything that resonates. A violin string stretched too tight will snap. Left too loose, it will not sing. The musician's touch finds the middle ground, that invisible line where tension and freedom meet. When struck, the string transfers its energy to the wood to the air, and the air to the ear. Resonance occurs when two frequencies align, when one thing recognizes itself in another. That recognition is balance transformed into emotion. Inside the human ear, three tiny bones, the malleus, incus, and stapes, carry these vibrations inward, amplifying the faintest tremor until it reaches the spiraling cochlea. There, thousands of hair-like cells translate waves into electrical signals. Each cell responds only to a specific frequency, like keys on a piano, ensuring that sound remains ordered, even amid noise. Hearing is an act of precision, a biological harmony so fine that even the faintest whisper becomes meaningful. But just as essential as sound is silence. Between beats, between words, silence gives shape to what's heard. Without it, all would blur. The pause between musical notes allows the listener to rest, to anticipate, to feel. Silence holds emotion as water holds reflection. It is not emptiness, but the necessary counterpart to expression. The universe itself oscillates between energy and quiet, bursts of creation followed by long stillness, stars flaring and fading in endless rhythm. Throughout history, people have sensed this truth intuitively. Drums mimicked the pulse of the heart, flutes echoed the voice of the wind. Monks chanted to align breath with vibration, believing that harmony could cleanse the mind. Indigenous ceremonies used rhythm to communicate with the unseen, the steady beat bridging worlds. Sound has always been our most direct connection to the unseen patterns of existence. Modern science now shows that vibration can heal. Ultrasound mends tissue, sound waves shatter kidney stones, and music therapy slows the heartbeat and calms the nervous system. Resonance extends beyond the ear. It reaches deep into the body, reorganizing rhythm where it has gone astray. Even molecules vibrate differently under certain tones, as though remembering the harmony they were made from. Emotion itself carries vibration. The voice trembles when afraid, softens when kind, sharpens when angry. Each frequency transmits more than words. It conveys state of being. We sense this subconsciously, responding to tone long before logic intervenes. The voice of someone we love can change the chemistry of our blood, lowering stress, steadying the pulse. Sound is communication at its most primal, resonance between hearts before it becomes meaning in the mind. The world is full of music we cannot hear, Trees vibrate in the wind, whales sing through oceans, the earth hums at a frequency too low for human ears. Even atoms, bound by invisible forces, oscillate perpetually. Physics calls this motion quantum vibration. Poets call it life's heartbeat. Every vibration seeks its match, an echo, a response, a balancing note in the great composition of being. And perhaps that is why silence feels sacred. After sound fades, its memory lingers. The quiet that follows a song, the hush after laughter, the stillness at the end of the day. These are moments when resonance completes its journey and returns to rest. It's the pause in which the universe breathes out. If you close your eyes now, you might notice that you are surrounded by both sound and silence, pulse and stillness, motion and calm. They don't compete, they complete each other. The hum of your breath, the faint rhythm of life around you, and the quiet beyond all of it are working together, maintaining the equilibrium of existence. The world speaks, then listens, and in that exchange, harmony endures. Everything that moves depends on balance. From the orbit of moons to the rhythm of footsteps, motion is not the opposite of equilibrium. It is its expression. What we call grace, whether in the movement of a dancer or the flight of a bird, is really the art of constant correction. Stability is never still. It is 1,000 small adjustments, happening every second, that allow motion to appear effortless. Take a single step. As one foot rises, the body shifts its weight forward, leaning into uncertainty. For a moment, you are off balance, but then the other foot lands, and order returns. Walking is a controlled fall, a perfect sequence of losing and regaining equilibrium. Every stride is proof that progress requires imbalance. The same principle governs the physical world. Planets spin to maintain their orbits, winds blow to equalize pressure, rivers move to smooth out differences in elevation. Nature keeps balance through motion, not stillness. The body is a masterpiece of this dynamic harmony. Muscles contract and release in intricate coordination. The heart pumps in alternating pulses of pressure and relaxation. Blood, lymph, and air move through the body's pathways in endless cycles. Even when you stand completely still, micro-movements ripple through your muscles, keeping you upright against gravity's pull. What feels like rest is really motion so balanced that you no longer notice it. This same law of movement holds true for thought. The mind wavers between concentration and distraction, between curiosity and reflection. Creativity depends on these shifts. Too much focus and ideas grow rigid, too little and they scatter. Wisdom lies in oscillation, in letting attention move without drifting too far, then return to center. Emotional life follows the same rhythm. Joy and sorrow, excitement and calm, ambition and patience all trade places, each making the other possible. The psyche, like the body, must sway to stay upright. On a planetary scale, the pattern repeats. The Earth tilts just enough to create seasons, a slight lean that prevents monotony. Ocean currents, guided by heat and rotation, distribute nutrients and temperature, preventing stagnation. Even the planet's wobble, subtle shifts in its axis, helps regulate climate over thousands of years. The world never stops moving because movement is its form of balance. Philosophers have long said that life resembles a wheel. Every turn brings repetition, but also progress. The same point rises, falls, and rises again. Motion keeps the circle complete. In the same way, societies and civilizations find balance through cycles, times of growth and stillness, conflict and reconciliation, innovation and rest. The danger lies not in motion, but in forgetting its rhythm. To live well is to understand that stability is never final. It's an active state, like a surfer staying upright by reading each wave, or a bird gliding by feeling the wind's smallest changes. The moment we try to freeze balance, we lose it. A tightrope walker does not stop moving. Their safety lies in constant, subtle shifts. You can see this truth in the simplest things: the sway of trees in wind, the ripple of grass, the rotation of a planet, the beat of your pulse. The beauty of balance lies not in perfect symmetry, but in perpetual motion. Life maintains itself by moving, by leaning forward, by recovering from every small fall. There is no final stillness waiting at the end of motion, only new rhythms, new forms of equilibrium. The art is to move with awareness, to sense when to yield and when to resist, to stay poised within change. Balance isn't a state to be achieved once. It is a way of moving through the world, fluid, responsive, alive. Inside every person lives an ocean of feeling, waves rising, falling, crashing, and retreating in endless rhythm. Emotions are not interruptions to reason. They are signals of balance and imbalance within the mind. Joy, anger, fear, and tenderness are all ways the inner world responds to the outer one. Like tides pulled by invisible moons, our moods shift with events, hormones, memories, and expectations. The goal is not to silence them, but to learn their rhythm, to let the sea inside move without flooding the shore. Each feeling serves a purpose. Anger protects boundaries. Sadness invites rest and reflection. Joy restores energy. Fear heightens attention. None of them are mistakes. They are messages. Trouble comes only when one emotion dominates for too long, when a single current refuses to ebb. Then the mind, like an unbalanced planet, wobbles off course. Emotional equilibrium is the quiet skill of returning, again and again, to center, not denying what is felt, but allowing it to move through, to complete its cycle. Modern psychology and ancient philosophy agree on this point. Emotion is energy in motion. It must travel. When we suppress what we feel, that energy turns inward, creating tension in body and thought. When we indulge it endlessly, it burns out of control. Balance lives in the middle path, the awareness that observes emotion without becoming it. To notice anger without speaking through it, to recognize sorrow without drowning in it, is to practice emotional symmetry. The body reflects this truth perfectly. Every feeling carries a physical signature. Fear tightens the stomach. Gratitude softens the chest. Anxiety quickens the pulse. Relief slows it. These reactions are the body's way of finding or losing equilibrium. Breath becomes the bridge between the two. When breathing steadies, so does emotion. The nervous system listens to the rhythm of inhalation and exhalation like a compass returning north. You do not control emotion by force. You guide it through rhythm. In relationships, this balance becomes even more intricate. One person's emotion inevitably touches another's. Harmony between people requires the same responsiveness as harmony within oneself, listening, adjusting, softening when the other grows rigid, speaking when silence would deepen confusion. Healthy connection is emotional balance in motion. Give and receive, express and understand, speak and listen. When either side dominates, the music of communication falters. Even the larger world mirrors this inner principle. Cultures and communities swing between extremes, passion and apathy, pride and doubt, conflict and peace. Yet across time, societies that endure are those that rediscover empathy after division, moderation after excess. Emotional intelligence, both personal and collective, is what sustains civilization's rhythm. Science has begun to uncover the physical side of this harmony. Neural circuits linking the prefrontal cortex and limbic system allow emotion and logic to converse. When these networks communicate well, judgment is clear and compassion intact. When they disconnect, thought becomes either cold or chaotic. Emotional equilibrium, then, is not a vague idea but a measurable state, the synchronization of heart and mind, chemistry and consciousness. To live with emotional balance does not mean avoiding intensity. It means trusting your own capacity to recover. Waves will rise, tempests will come, but the ocean beneath remains vast and calm. Over time, you learn that feelings are visitors, not rulers. They arrive, deliver their message, and depart when understood. In that understanding lies freedom. You can feel deeply without being carried away, act decisively without cruelty, love fiercely without fear. The secret is rhythm, the willingness to feel fully, then let go. When emotion becomes motion again, balance returns naturally, and so the inner sea keeps its shape. Storms come and go, but beneath them, A deeper current holds steady, that quiet awareness that watches, listens, and always knows its way back to still water. That is emotional equilibrium, not the absence of feeling but the peaceful mastery of its flow. Civilizations rise and fall on the same laws that guide nature. Balance governs not only tides and stars, but also the patterns of human life. Societies, like ecosystems, survive by maintaining proportion between freedom and order, wealth and need, progress and preservation. When that balance tilts, history begins to tremble. At the foundation of every community lies exchange. Farmers trade harvests for tools, teachers share knowledge for time, leaders offer guidance for trust. This web of reciprocity sustains culture just as photosynthesis sustains forests. But when power accumulates in one corner of the web, or when greed drains too much from the rest, imbalance spreads like drought. The flow of giving and receiving slows, and systems once vibrant begin to decay. Civilizations have learned this truth countless times. Excess without restraint always collapses under its own weight. Look back through history and the rhythm is clear. Empires overreached, economies inflated, inequalities widened, and each time, correction arrived. Sometimes through reform, sometimes through revolt, but always through the same principle: restoration of proportion. Justice movements, new philosophies, and fresh technologies are all attempts to reset society's scales. Renewal often begins where imbalance becomes unbearable. Across the world, cultures strive for fairness, each in their own way, some encoded in law, others in tradition or story. The idea of justice, of equal measure, appears in every civilization's myth. Scales, the ancient symbol of balance, are carved above courthouses and painted in temples. They remind us that peace depends not on perfection but on symmetry, the assurance that no voice, no life, no effort weighs too little or too much. When proportion falters, so does empathy. The more distance grows between people's experiences, the harder it becomes to imagine one another's struggles. Compassion narrows, polarization deepens, and discourse hardens into noise. Yet even here, correction is possible. Awareness begins the return. When societies listen, truly listen, they begin to breathe again. Dialogue acts as circulation, distributing understanding the way rivers distribute nutrients. Technology has amplified this process and complicated it. Information travels instantly, giving everyone a platform yet blurring the boundaries of truth. The speed of connection can outpace reflection, creating noise faster than wisdom can follow. Still, beneath the static, the same principle operates: balance through communication. The challenge is not to slow progress, but to infuse it with mindfulness, to let the rhythm of attention match the rhythm of creation. Justice is not only a social construct, it is a natural one. In ecosystems, overconsumption leads to collapse, and in human systems, exploitation leads to unrest. Sustainability, whether of soil or spirit, demands fairness. When resources circulate equitably, when labor and reward align, energy flows smoothly through society. Every small act of fairness, every choice to share rather than hoard, contributes to that larger harmony. The true test of a civilization lies not in its monuments or machines, but in its ability to recalibrate when imbalance appears. Progress that forgets compassion becomes arrogance. Equality without ambition turns stagnant. The art lies in keeping both, movement and mercy, innovation and empathy, in constant dialogue. Harmony within society, like in music, does not erase difference, it arranges it. Each instrument must play its part, each voice its note, but all must listen for the collective tone. When that tone falters, wisdom is the ear that hears the dissonance and steadies it again. The future of humanity will depend less on power than on proportion, on our willingness to notice when the scales tip and to restore them gently before fracture becomes fall. The balance we seek outside mirrors the balance we must hold within: awareness of measure, respect for limit, and faith that restoration is always possible. In every age, humanity invents new tools to extend its reach. Fire once lengthened the day, the wheel expanded distance, printing multiplied voices. Today, Technology has woven itself into thought, a presence that never sleeps. Screens glow in every room, networks hum beneath cities, and information flows faster than reflection can follow. Each invention promises connection and efficiency, yet beneath the progress lies a quieter question. How much speed can balance bear? Modern life hums at a frequency nature never knew. Messages arrive before emotions settle, opinions race ahead of understanding, and silence grows rare. The mind, pulled in many directions, begins to scatter. Concentration fractures into fragments. We mistake stimulation for purpose, quantity for depth. Yet none of this is technology's fault. Imbalance comes from use, not from creation. The tool reflects its maker. If we build in haste, we live in haste. The digital world mirrors the physical one in its need for proportion. Too little connectivity breeds isolation, too much floods the senses. Algorithms, built to hold attention, exploit the brain's love of novelty, a survival mechanism once meant for finding food and danger. Now it feeds on endless scrolls of distraction. The result is overstimulation disguised as engagement, a constant tug away from stillness. Balance slips quietly, unnoticed, until exhaustion feels normal. Still, technology carries immense potential for harmony when guided with awareness. A telescope reveals galaxies that humble the ego. A microscope shows the miracle of a single cell. Communication links distant hearts. Knowledge spreads faster than ignorance can contain it. Used wisely, these tools expand empathy as much as they expand reach. The same screen that distracts can also teach, heal, and connect. The difference lies in rhythm, in learning when to reach outward and when to return inward. History shows that each leap of innovation demands a moral recalibration. The industrial age altered labor, the printing press altered truth, and the digital age alters attention. Progress without reflection risks imbalance. The greater our power, the deeper our need for grounding. Without it, noise replaces meaning. Information multiplies while understanding thins. To restore balance, we must relearn how to pause, not in rejection of technology, but in partnership with it. Imagine standing at the edge of a city at night. Thousands of lights sparkle like stars, each one a signal of human thought made visible. The glow is beautiful, but behind it lies a hunger for silence. The brain, designed for rhythm, needs contrast, brightness, and dark, input and rest. When that rhythm disappears, anxiety grows, not from evil, but from excess. The cure is not to abandon the city, but to dim its light sometimes, to let night return. Technology should be a bridge, not a cage. Its true strength lies in choice, the ability to connect when needed and to disconnect when peace requires it. The human nervous system thrives on boundaries. Just as muscles grow stronger by alternating tension and release, the mind grows clearer when it alternates focus and quiet. Attention is finite, and what we give it to defines the quality of our lives. The next evolution of balance may not be mechanical at all, but spiritual, learning to integrate technology into a rhythm of being rather than allowing it to dictate one. It means using the world's noise without losing our own stillness, creating in the digital space without erasing the tactile, the human, the slow. Progress is not speed, it is synchronization. The tools we've built are not our enemy. They are extensions of our collective mind, waiting to be guided back toward proportion. The future will not belong to those who reject machines, nor to those who worship them, but to those who remember how to center themselves amid their hum, to use connection as nourishment, not as noise. Balance was never lost. It only waits behind the glow, ready to return the moment we choose stillness again. Every system in the universe relies on gravity, the quiet force that holds motion in place, that pulls wandering bodies toward a center. Without it, stars would scatter, planets would drift, and nothing would stay whole for long. Within each person, there is a similar force, not physical, but emotional and mental, that keeps thoughts, actions, and desires from spinning apart. It is the gravity of awareness, the invisible pull of purpose that draws us back when life pulls us outward. The world today encourages motion without pause. Work stretches across time zones, news arrives in constant bursts, and even rest becomes performance. It is easy to lose one's center in such motion, to mistake activity for direction. The result is a subtle vertigo of the soul, always moving, rarely arriving. Yet balance depends not only on motion but on remembering what anchors it. Inner gravity is that anchor, the sense of alignment that reminds you who you are amid the swirl of what you do. Finding it requires stillness, though not necessarily silence. It begins with noticing. Where does your attention go? What draws it, and what drains it? Attention is the measure of gravity's strength. When scattered, energy leaks. When focused, presence returns. Meditation, art, nature, and honest conversation, all are ways of strengthening the pull inward, of letting awareness reclaim its place as the system's center. Consider how planets maintain orbit. They are forever falling toward the sun, yet never colliding, because their motion matches the pull that draws them. Too fast and they would escape, too slow and they would burn. The same holds true for life. Ambition without grounding burns, reflection without motion drifts. The art lies in finding the speed at which your world stays in harmony, in learning how to move without losing center. Sometimes that balance falters. The heart grows heavy with pressure or light with distraction, and the orbit slips. But just as gravity never ceases, the inner pull toward coherence remains. It waits quietly beneath confusion, waiting to be felt. Often, all it takes is one deliberate breath, one moment of full attention, to sense the return. Awareness draws scattered parts of the self back into orbit. This inward gravity is not selfishness, it is stability. A tree with deep roots can shelter others. A person centered within can act without distortion. When you know where your core lies, compassion gains direction, and strength becomes quiet rather than loud. From that still point, you can move freely through change without losing yourself. Even communities possess this inner gravity. Shared values, stories, and rituals hold societies together much as gravity holds planets. When those shared meanings fade, disorientation follows, polarization, restlessness, noise. The cure is not control but reconnection, remembering the truths that once pulled us toward each other. Awareness, both personal and collective, is the sun around which all else orbits. Without it, progress becomes drift. With it, every movement, whether fast or slow, loud or silent, takes on coherence. The body follows mind, the mind follows meaning. To restore inner gravity is to remember that balance begins within, not outside. It is the unseen strength that lets you meet uncertainty without fear, to stand firm yet flexible, to stay connected without losing yourself in the crowd. When gravity is steady, motion becomes effortless again. So pause now and feel it. That subtle weight at the core of your being, not heavy, but grounding. It is the same force that shapes galaxies, translated into consciousness. You are not separate from that order. You are one of its expressions. The universe holds itself together through gravity, and through awareness, it holds you too. Time is often imagined as a river, flowing in one direction, carrying everything with it. But in truth, time behaves less like water and more like architecture. It builds, layer upon layer, each moment resting upon the last, shaping structure from motion. We live within that structure, surrounded by invisible walls made from memory, anticipation, and the present instant between them. Balance, even here, defines how we inhabit it, between what has been and what will be, between remembrance and renewal. In physics, time is woven into the fabric of space itself. It stretches and folds under gravity, bending around stars and black holes. To Einstein, it was not a background but a participant, a dimension shaped by matter and shaping matter in return. This means that time, like energy, seeks equilibrium. Where space bends, time adjusts. Where motion slows, time expands. The entire universe synchronizes through this exchange, keeping its cosmic clock in tune. Human perception, however, experiences time differently. For us, it accelerates in joy, stretches in sorrow, and pauses in awe. The mind bends time according to emotion. A single second of pain can feel endless. A week of love can vanish in a breath. This elasticity is not illusion but adaptation, the psyche's attempt to balance experience. It stretches or compresses reality to make life bearable, to let meaning find its rightful weight. Across cultures, people have tried to measure this flow, to give it rhythm. Calendars, clocks, and rituals divide infinity into pieces small enough to hold. Yet beyond the numbers and schedules lies another rhythm, biological time. The circadian rhythm governs sleep and wakefulness. Hormones rise and fall with light and darkness. Cells repair according to cycles older than memory. Every organism lives within these invisible metronomes. To ignore them is to lose alignment with the planet's own pulse. Modern life often fractures this alignment. Artificial light turns night into day. Screens blur beginnings and endings, and the body forgets when to rest. We live faster than the mind can integrate, stacking hours like unstable bricks. The result is exhaustion, not merely of body, but of perception. Time, when rushed, loses texture. Moments blur, meaning thins, and life feels shorter, not because it is, but because it is less inhabited. Balance returns when we re-enter rhythm. To walk at dawn, to eat without hurry, to end a day when the sun does, these are acts of restoration. They remind the body that time is not an enemy but an ally, that pace defines presence. Even productivity thrives when rhythm returns. Work becomes focused, rest becomes real. The architecture of time stands steady again. Philosophers once said that eternity is not endless duration but complete presence. To live fully in a single moment is to touch the infinite. That is not metaphor but perspective. When awareness settles, the boundaries between past, present, and future soften. Memory and hope meet within the same instant. In that still point, time feels less like something that passes and more like something that holds. You are both the builder and the inhabitant of time's architecture. Each choice adds a stone, each pause strengthens a beam. The goal is not to control time but to design wisely within it, to leave space for silence, rest, and wonder between the walls of obligation. When proportion is restored, time regains its balance. Minutes no longer race or crawl, they breathe. Life feels neither rushed nor delayed, but measured, expanding and contracting in harmony with need. The architecture stands once more, spacious and strong, built not from urgency but from awareness. Trust is one of the most delicate forms of balance. It exists between people, between ideas, between moments of uncertainty. Like the tension in a suspension bridge, it holds great weight through invisible lines of connection. Remove one strand of honesty, and the structure begins to sway. Reinforce it with care, and it becomes capable of carrying generations. At its essence, trust is geometry, a pattern of symmetry between giving and receiving. To trust is to lean forward without falling, to believe that someone or something will meet you halfway. This exchange mirrors the physical universe, where stability depends on equal forces acting upon each other. In both nature and human life, balance is never guaranteed. It is maintained through motion and mutual respect. In the beginning, trust is simple. A child reaches for a parent's hand and finds it waiting. The body relaxes. The nervous system learns safety. Over time, this becomes the blueprint for all human connection. We trust the ground because it has never disappeared beneath our feet. We trust the breath because it has always returned. But when that rhythm breaks, when promises fail, when harm replaces help, the geometry of safety distorts, angles shift, symmetry falters, and fear replaces ease. Rebuilding trust requires patience, because its balance grows slowly. It cannot be forced or demanded. It must be earned through repetition and integrity. Each honest act adds weight to the structure, each betrayal removes it. The process resembles healing bone, invisible, steady, shaped by time. What breaks can mend stronger than before if alignment returns. Even within the self, trust plays a crucial role. Confidence is not arrogance, it is faith in one's own center. When you trust your judgment, you move with clarity. When you doubt it, the world feels uncertain. This inner trust forms the foundation for every outer one. Without it, Even love can feel unstable. To restore it, you must listen for consistency between your words and actions, between what you desire and what you pursue. Balance begins there. Trust also underpins knowledge. Science advances because of faith in evidence and in the honesty of others who observe it. Each experiment builds upon the reliability of previous work. When deception enters, the entire structure trembles. Similarly, societies function only when trust circulates, between citizens and institutions, between leaders and the led. Where that exchange collapses, polarization grows. Rebuilding it demands transparency, humility, and persistence, the same qualities that hold the cosmos together. In architecture, triangles are the most stable shape because their sides support one another equally. Trust works the same way. In relationships, stability arises when vulnerability, reliability, and understanding meet at equal angles. Remove one, and the frame weakens. Maintain all three, and the structure endures storms. There is also beauty in the risk of trusting. To step forward without guarantee is to participate in life's rhythm of give and receive. The alternative, withdrawal, suspicion, isolation, creates the illusion of safety, but the reality of imbalance. Without trust, the bridges between minds crumble, and the collective flow of compassion slows. Relearning trust requires courage, but also wisdom. It is not blind faith, it is informed openness. It recognizes fragility without letting fear rule. It accepts imperfection and still chooses connection. In that choice lies strength. When balance returns to trust, between self and other, between faith and evidence, between hope and caution, relationships, communities, and even nations regain coherence, the geometry aligns again. Imagine for a moment that every promise ever kept, every honest gesture, every moment of forgiveness left a faint golden line in the air. The sky would shimmer with bridges crossing in all directions, fragile yet enduring, forming the true architecture of civilization. Trust at its heart is not only emotional, it is structural. It holds the world together, one invisible thread at a time. Opposites often hide within one another. Fragility, for instance, is not the absence of strength, but its companion, the proof that something is alive, responsive, and capable of change. A glass that cannot flex will shatter. A reed that bends in the wind endures the storm. In both, survival depends not on hardness, but on the ability to yield at the right moment. Nature's design shows this everywhere. The most resilient systems are those that allow for weakness, for movement, for repair. Bones illustrate this paradox beautifully. They are both rigid and porous, a lattice of strength reinforced by empty space. The hollows make them light, the structure makes them durable. When stress is applied, microfractures appear, tiny signals that tell the body to grow stronger in that exact spot. The act of breaking and mending is how bones learn their shape. Strength, in living things, is never static. It's a process of recovery, repeated endlessly. The same law governs forests after fire. What appears as devastation is often renewal. Heat cracks open the seeds of certain trees, rain follows, and new growth begins in ash. The soil, enriched by what was lost, nourishes the next generation. Fragility allows transformation. Resilience is born from surrender. Nature trusts impermanence because she knows that strength grows in cycles, not permanence. Human beings mirror this truth. Emotional endurance does not come from invulnerability but from elasticity, the ability to feel fully, to break a little, to heal again. People who allow grief, fear, or vulnerability to move through them often emerge more grounded, not less. By contrast, those who armor themselves against all hurt eventually fracture from within. The mind, like the body, thrives on movement between tension and release. True courage lives in openness. It takes strength to admit limitation, to say, "I don't know," or "I'm not ready." These moments, far from weakness, mark the beginning of wisdom. Fragility keeps us human. It keeps us teachable. It reminds us that perfection would be brittle, unable to grow, unable to adapt. Societies too follow this pattern. The most enduring civilizations are not the ones that never fall, but those that know how to rebuild. They learn from collapse, weave memory into architecture, and reform their laws to meet new challenges. Failure is not their enemy, but their compass. In the cracks of old systems, new ideas find space to breathe. Even metals obey this principle. Steel becomes stronger when tempered, heated, cooled, and shaped under stress. The molecules realign each time, building durability from repetition. This process mirrors emotional resilience: pressure, rest, reflection, and renewal. Strength without strain is ornamental. Strength tested and restored becomes real. There is a quiet beauty in the fragile moments of life: the trembling voice, the breaking wave, the tear that precedes relief. These are thresholds where transformation begins. To resist them is to stagnate. To embrace them is to evolve. A seed must split before it grows. A heart must open before it can love deeply. Every form of power that endures is touched by vulnerability. Fragility also teaches compassion. To see weakness in another and recognize it in oneself dissolves judgment. It connects instead of divides. From that understanding, empathy emerges, a force as steady as gravity, holding humanity together. If you think of strength not as armor but as rhythm, you see it everywhere: in the bending of trees, in the adaptability of water, in the quiet endurance of those who keep moving through loss. The strongest are not unbroken. They are those who have learned how to mend gracefully. Balance between fragility and strength is the secret architecture of resilience. To remain whole, one must be willing to yield. To remain soft, one must also stand. The two are not opposites. They are partners in the art of survival. Every cycle in the universe carries a return. Waves retreat after reaching shore. Planets swing back in their orbits, and seasons find their way from bloom to rest and back again. Nothing travels in a straight line for long. The cosmos moves in circles, spirals, and loops, a choreography of departure and homecoming. This is the quiet law of return. What moves outward will, in time, find its way back, transformed yet familiar. Energy obeys it. The warmth that leaves a fire becomes part of the air, then the wind, then the soil that feeds the next spark. Water follows it, rising as vapor, gathering in clouds, falling as rain, flowing to the sea, and beginning again. Even light, traveling through space, curves around gravity and returns to paths once crossed. Existence, it seems, dislikes finality. It prefers rhythm. Life follows the same invisible arc. Every breath you take completes this law: inhalation reaching outward, exhalation bringing you home. Cells renew, thoughts fade and reappear, emotions pass and circle back in gentler form. Nothing is lost. Everything participates in return. Even memories, once buried, rise again when they find relevance, connecting past with present in quiet conversation. This principle also shapes nature's larger patterns. After drought comes rain, after decay, new life. Forests regenerate, coral reefs recover, glaciers retreat and advance. The timing may span centuries, but the movement endures. Balance, in its deepest form, is not static harmony but the assurance of renewal, the promise that what goes out will come back, changed but whole. Human life reflects this cosmic rhythm in ways both small and profound. Relationships drift apart and reunite. Lessons forgotten resurface when needed. Even mistakes circle back, disguised as opportunities for correction. Growth rarely moves in a straight line. It spirals, revisiting familiar places with new understanding. Each turn feels like repetition, but each is actually progress. The return is never the same as the departure. In philosophy, this pattern is echoed as karma, as cause and effect, as moral gravity. Actions ripple outward, shaping events that eventually revisit their origin. What we give, in some form, comes back. This isn't punishment or reward, but feedback. The universe's way of refining behavior through reflection. It applies equally to kindness and cruelty, to creation and neglect. The energy of our choices always finds its echo. Emotionally, the law of return offers reassurance. Joy may fade, but it is never gone. It waits for recognition. Love, once given, leaves traces that reappear in unexpected kindnesses. Even grief, which seems endless, softens into gratitude over time, returning the heart to openness. The cycles of emotion, like the seasons, cannot be hurried, only honored. In art and science alike, creativity thrives on this rhythm. Inspiration departs, leaving space for stillness, and then returns with renewed force. Innovation often loops through failure before clarity appears. Even the creative mind breathes, expanding in exploration, contracting in focus, and expanding again. The rhythm is universal. Understanding the law of return teaches patience. It reminds us that loss is not always disappearance, that endings can be preludes. The branch that drops its leaves is not dying but preparing. The silence between words gives them meaning. Life's pauses are not empty, they are turns in the circle. If you trace the path of any motion, a planet, a heartbeat, a thought, you will find the same curve. Outward and back, giving and receiving, rising and falling. This symmetry holds the universe together, quietly but absolutely. It is not fate, it is physics. And perhaps, on the deepest level, it is also comfort. To live is to wander, to reach, to let go, and then to find, again and again, the way home. The universe itself returns continually to balance, and through that return, it keeps everything alive. Every movement, every breath, every thought in this universe returns to one idea, that balance sustains existence. Beneath the noise of creation, beneath gravity and motion, there lies a quiet symmetry that keeps all things from flying apart. The stars obey it, rivers trace it, the heart learns it with each beat. Balance is not a distant concept. It is the hidden pulse of being itself, the center that holds everything together. At the cosmic scale, this center appears as gravity's invisible thread. It keeps galaxies spiraling instead of scattering, suns blazing instead of collapsing, and planets circling with precision that feels like devotion. On Earth, the same principle holds mountains in place and oceans in rhythm. Yet its most remarkable expression lies not in the vastness of the cosmos, but in the intimacy of life. The balance that shapes the universe also shapes the space within your chest, between inhale and exhale, effort and rest, thought and silence. Human existence unfolds between these opposites. We strive and pause, speak and listen, love and lose. It is easy to think that peace means stillness, but stillness alone would be lifeless. True peace is movement in harmony, a dance of opposites that never ends. The center that holds is not a fixed point but a field, a living tension between forces that belong to each other. Every story told, every discovery made, is part of this greater rhythm. The universe is not a war between extremes but a conversation between them. Heat meets cold to create wind. Chaos meets order to create life. Sound meets silence to create music. Each balance gives birth to something new, then dissolves so another can take its place. In this way, the cosmos renews itself endlessly, destruction feeding creation, stillness feeding motion. The center can be found everywhere. In architecture, it's the keystone that keeps the arch standing. In emotion, it's calm beneath the wave. In morality, it's empathy, the awareness that one side's joy cannot rest on another's suffering. In science, it's equilibrium. In art, it's composition. In nature, it's homeostasis. Every discipline, every language, points toward the same truth under different names. Stability through relationship, endurance through rhythm. Life challenges this balance constantly. The body ages, the mind wavers, the world changes faster than certainty can follow. Yet something steady remains beneath all that motion: awareness, consciousness, the simple ability to notice. Awareness is the universe's quietest force. It does not push or pull, it holds. When you observe the world, you become part of that holding, maintaining the thread that keeps order from dissolving into noise. To live with awareness is to participate in cosmic balance. It means acting without excess, resting without guilt, speaking without harm, creating without domination. It means remembering that every gesture, however small, ripples through a larger pattern. The hand that helps, the word that soothes, the decision that preserves, all are acts of equilibrium, restoring what the world forgets in its rush. If there is a secret to balance, it is humility. Nothing truly belongs to one side or the other. Light depends on shadow, strength on fragility, gain on loss. The moment we accept this interdependence, tension becomes peace. We stop chasing control and begin to flow with the same intelligence that guides galaxies and rivers alike. And so, after all the movements of time and thought, everything returns to the same quiet center, the one that has always been there, waiting behind change. The universe holds its form not by stillness but by agreement, the soft promise that every force, every life, every sound belongs to something larger than itself. You, too, are part of that promise. The breath you take now belongs to a balance that began before you and will continue long after. The atoms in your body have traveled through stars, oceans, and stone, each one remembering how to return to its place. Everything, in the end, leans gently toward harmony, and in that leaning, the universe endures, poised, patient, infinite. We, from Sleeping with Science, wish you a good night.